Okay, so we're going to have a game 7. As far as what happened tonight, KD fell back down to earth within his own ways of doing that. He was still great tonight, hitting a bunch of tough shots, turnaround jumpers, the pull-ups, the whole 9 yards. But when Jeff Green went crazy from 3 in the last one, well, tonight, there was no guy to take that place of Jeff Green. Harden, he's doing what he can out there, man. But there's just not enough attacking the basket from him given the hamstring. I mean, when Harden was involved in action, it was a lot of east-west type of stuff, which the Bucks were switching a lot of. But he did have some drives, including that one on Giannis, so that could be a good sign for Game 7. On top of that, Joe Harris's shooting struggles continue. It was funny, he got one in this game and it didn't count, which was like, okay, that's just his luck, I guess. Maybe he goes crazy in Game 7, who knows, but that's what it's going to have to be. To talk about the Bucks on the other end, I mean, they were definitely taking advantage of the Nets offense not being as good in this one. I mean, they're always a menace in transition. Of course, Giannis is the best transition guy in the league. The other thing was I felt like there was a good amount of movement where it was like Drew and Middleton starting off the ball, then getting like a handoff from Giannis or a screen or whatever, and then just getting into their normal stuff. I mean, Drew had a bunch of good drives, some of which was him taking advantage of switches. Giannis had some good cuts as well. Drew and Giannis had this really good like two-man game sequence off of a post-up or whatever early on. Middleton had this great cross-court pass. It was in the half-court to P.J. Tucker for a wide-open corner three after there was some off-ball action. So the Bucks offense, it did look good, although they did still shoot poorly from 3. And that's a bit alarming, but their top 3 guys played well. And as we go to Game 7, the thing to think about is just do that again. I mean, we've seen the Bucks offense at times in this series look really, really bad, and not a lot of motion. I mean, that's what happened in the fourth quarter of the last game. So as long as they can keep the Giannis screens and handoffs coming and running in transition as much as possible and just some sort of off-ball movement, then hopefully their talent can take them home from there. Giannis was also pretty ruthless in attacking the basket in this one, not a lot of settling for jump shots. And I feel like we had some Giannis versions of post-ups in this. I mean, he's not going to back a guy down for like 5 seconds, but what he will do is at least he'll bump a guy a bit just to get him off the spot a little bit and then go into some sort of a scoop shot or whatever. There was one on Jeff Green that I remember the most from today's game. Andy was able to take advantage of them loading up on him and dishing it outside to guys. So anyway, to think about the Nets' defensive game plan for Game 7, I imagine it's Blake giving Giannis space. That's the one thing that's kind of worked in this series. I mean, for all the talk about Giannis, I mean, I was saying the last game, like, yeah, he's not KD. Well, yeah, he's not Kevin Durant. Giannis has still been great in this series, even if his shot selection and free throws have been annoying. But whenever he has looked not as great, usually it was because Blake was strong enough to actually match up with him. But you're going to have to step up a little higher on those actions. You can try loading up on them. You hope they miss some of those threes. But the reality for the Nets was like the blueprint for them the whole time was okay on defense, great on offense, and they're down Kyrie and they're down like, I don't know, 60, 70% of James Harden. I mean, if it's going to be KD and a bunch of guys in Game 7, then the Bucks should have the edge. But still, the Nets have the best player, and sometimes that can be what it is. So we'll see if KD's just going at Brook Lopez all the time. We'll see if he's going at Pat Connaughton when he's in the game. Can Drew defend KD? I mean, KD did make a good amount of turnaround jumpers over him in this game, for what that's worth. I don't think we saw a lot of Giannis on KD. So yeah, man, that's kind of it. I don't really know how I would stretch this out super long. I guess the last thing to say, just given that it's a Game 7, I know this is obvious, but it's like anything can happen. I mean, that Jeff Green crazy game that we saw earlier, that could be the story of Game 7. We saw Chris Middleton barely able to make a shot in the first 2 games of this series. That could happen in Game 7. Giannis might go 1 for 13 at the free throw line. He might go 10 for 13. And one of the two coaches could do something really dumb. Giannis could play 39 minutes, even if it seems like Budenholzer has finally figured that thing out. Steve Nash could play Landry Shamet 19 minutes and he gets cooked on every single possession. I don't know. This is just how it goes with Game 7. And so we'll see. I mean, look, Steve Kerr played Anderson Varejao in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So it is always worth being like, someone might do something really dumb. So we'll see.